Hi there, welcome to Monetize Your Business podcast conversations in partnership with FNB. My name is Hetty the Entrepreneur and I am your host for today's conversation. We've got a very interesting guest today who's going to share a concept with us that is very different and we're very excited about sharing that with you. But before that, Papa Biz, how are you today?
Papa Biz, yeah, no, I'm good and I'm glad to be able to be here
Yeah.
so we can be able to discuss something different.
Yes, absolutely. Today's guest is Lanre Ola, and he is the founder of City Ride Car Rentals. Very excited to get into the nitty-gritties of his business. Lanre, welcome to today's conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me as well.
Yeah, we're very excited to learn a little bit about your business, City Ride Car Rentals. I know it sounds simple and self-explanatory, but I know that your business has got a different twist and angle to it. Can you tell us a little bit more about City Ride Car Rentals?
Okay, well, City Ride Car Rentals started in 2016, between 2016 and 2017.
Okay.
Started like a small car rental company, whereby we started with a few fleet of about 4 cars.
Okay.
From having done Uber for a while, we decided we needed to do something that is a bit more stable.
Okay.
And we tried the concept of renting out the cars. So essentially what we did was, just try to understand, as an entrepreneur, you become very curious how
Yes.
does car rental really works, because
Yeah.
it's not like you really have the knowledge of, how a car rental works. So we went, did a couple of research and, we got the software and we started our first few rentals
Okay.
by posting on Gumtree at the time.
Ah,
And after a while, we started understanding digital marketing, where we started making sponsored posts, getting customers, vetting the customers, and that was essentially how we started.
Okay.
Vetting the customers is an entire different process, because
Yes.
that took another 2, 3, 4 years. For us to really understand how do we profile customers in terms of who can afford, who is an high-risk customers,
Yes.
which customers are really eligible to be able to rent without a debit card or without, a credit card or a cash payment. So there are several aspects to car rental, and that was, how we started, till date. Yeah.
sure. When I think of a car rental business, in my mind, I'm thinking a lot of capital is needed. Where does somebody get funding for something like that? How did you navigate starting off with capital and navigating that in the beginning of your business?
Okay, well, in my situation, at the time before I started the car rental business, I was running a small franchise, which I owned at the time.
Okay.
It was a food delivery franchise,
Okay.
and I've always believed in the multiple stream of income, whereby
Yes.
you can't be in one sector or in one industry.
Yeah.
So at the time, when I sold the franchise, I sold a branch of the franchise, and I was looking for where to have invested that cash. And also, I had worked, with MultiChoice at the time. I was doing content production for
Okay.
MultiChoice, having hosted
Fantastic.
a travel show. So the capital left at the time, I was looking for where I could, put that amount. And that was where I got first into the Uber business in the early days in 2016, 2017. But it wasn't stable, it wasn't viable, and you couldn't really predict the car usage, the drivers, and all that.
Yes.
And that was what led to, using those capital to invest in the small few fleets of cars at the time. Yeah.
Okay.
And then actually you mentioned as well that you had a travel company before then. Talk to us about that. What was that experience like? How did you get into that?
Well, it was a travel and lifestyle show, a concept I saw from CNN Business Traveler,
Okay.
being hosted by Richard Quest, and I like the
Oh
idea.
yes, Quest
Yes.
does
Yeah,
travel.
Quest means
Yeah,
business.
Quest means
Yes,
business. Yes.
I
so,
love that.
So when I saw it, I just thought I love traveling. I used
Yeah.
to travel, back to SA from Lagos at the time.
Yeah.
And when I saw it, I remember coming to Randburg and writing. I wrote a couple of people at Multichoice. I didn't know anyone.
Yes.
So what I did, I sent a lot of emails, and I remember 2 months later, the GM for Sub-Saharan West Africa for MultiChoice, wrote the channel manager in Lagos that there was this guy that had a concept. And within, I think, about 3 months, they commissioned the show. At the time, they commissioned the show, gave a season, before I started shooting the show. And then I came back to SA, shot the pilot, and went back to them, and the show got approved, and that was how I started.
Amazing.
Wow.
So it wasn't like I did any audition or anything, but
Yes.
I had the media background at the time. I've always wanted something in media, but it doesn't have to be me. I could have a TV host to someone, but I've always done
Yes.
media. But at the time, I just wanted something, that I would enjoy, like traveling and having to do that. And that was how I got into traveling, car rental, and a food franchise at the time, yeah.
I'm always fascinated when I meet serial entrepreneurs like yourself because I think it takes bravery to be able to go out there, whether it's to pitch a concept or to start something new, especially in a space where you may not have a lot of experience or you've just got an idea to improve a space. What gives you the courage and resilience to try something new without any evidence that it will even succeed, but you say, you know what, let me just try it and see what happens? What gives you that go-getter attitude?
Well, I think it comes, with a passion to win. And I mean, as an entrepreneur, as an individual, when you really want to win, you look for all possible means to ensure that, you get those things done. Like I said in the beginning, not knowing anyone in multi-choice and having to look at such a big establishment, who do I approach? You have to figure out different ways in which either you send emails, either you write them, either you talk to people.
Talk to
But
people.
I think as an entrepreneur, it's very hard to make an excuse that this is not working because that same door that you tried to open and you couldn't open, someone else has been able to open that particular
Yes,
door.
that's true, yeah.
So I think it's the passion has to come with the end result of I really just want to win.
Yeah.
And you have to give all the best to ensure that this particular goal, you are able to achieve that irrespective of the obstacles or any challenges that you may have encountered. Because in this part of the world, there's no other way, beyond the fact that you need to keep striving to ensure that you get to the end point. So, yeah.
So I want to check. We've got different clients that we've obviously worked with, different entrepreneurs, and there's one that actually comes to mind where they were having a car rental business,
Yeah.
specifically it was the H1 vans that they were having, and they were looking to grow. And he experienced so many challenges as he was starting off in terms of the type of people to rent out to, the deposit requirements. I mean, he's actually been in a situation where 3 of his vehicles were in serious accidents.
Excellent.
And with each one where there's been an accident, then there's a shortfall. Now trying to sort something out with insurance. How did you navigate that whole space with, identifying the correct type of client to be leasing out to while still trying to get your name out there and everything?
I think it comes with a lot of failures, but you really want to fail fast as an entrepreneur, with
Yes.
any venture, because you don't want to do something for too long and you keep assuming it's going to work. I think I learned that through being a tech entrepreneur. I've, pivoted from being just a business entrepreneur to a tech entrepreneur. So what I learned with car rental, coming to your question, profiling is really very important. I mean, you need to be able to profile different customer data to say, sadly, with car rental, it's a very risk volatile business where you are able to say certain areas are high risk. Customer comments, it's true, it's sad but true. There's a difference between a customer that is employed and a customer that is not employed. The risk is very different.
True.
A customer that earns 5,000 or 6,000, employed customer, and a customer that earns 20,000, the risk is also different.
Yes.
And provided you don't have any leverage point, like a credit card where you could charge back the customer, whatever. So profiling is what I did in our own systems. We started profiling the customer based on this data.
Okay.
If you are employed, where do you live? Where do you stay? What type of work do you do? How much do you earn? It creates a sense of responsibility in terms of when you're hiring a car or, take it as hiring or, renting an apartment. Psychologically, there is a level of responsibility that comes with certain data if you curate them and if you find and target those type of customers.
Yes.
And then that cuts down your risk a bit. But if you go into it like, I've got an H1, I've got a very small car, I could rent it out. You could be in a lot of risk when you just rent it out to just anyone that needs a car.
Exactly.
And they could be very highly irresponsible with how they take care of the vehicle and how they manage the risk during the rental process as well. So managing the data of the profiling the customer is really the only way you can really solve that problem. And you cannot take all type of deals that comes. The money is good, but you know that you could get a business for 15K, maybe an H1 for 4 day, 5 days rental, and then you could be in a loss of 100K.
Sure.
Yes,
Yeah,
precisely.
So
Yeah.
it happens a lot, within the car rental business. So the only way is to profile the customers and not take all type of business. Your profiling will give the data would not lie. When you look at the track record over the past period of the risk that you've encountered, the type of accident, the age, it's profiling. There is no single way. Yeah.
And actually, that reminds me, there's something that we teach that you're talking about around the concept of, no matter what your business is, it's important to understand who your client is. Just because you find people who need your service offering, it doesn't mean they're all your client.
Absolutely.
And you do need to get to a point where you understand that there's certain customers you should walk away from.
Absolutely.
And to put it in the correct way, there are actually certain customers you should be firing, which is something that, a lot of entrepreneurs, they struggle to understand that concept because, hey, man, I'm just trying to hustle. Yeah, I want any business I can get so that I can be able to have food on my table. But sometimes to have sustained food on your table, actually you need to be able to learn who your customer is and who you should be firing.
Yeah. I think it's with business, every business is a product. It's a
Yes.
service you're selling. And I think the biggest part of business, in my own opinion, it's the selling part. You can build any product, it doesn't mean anyone will buy.
True.
But if you master the selling point of the business, the type of customers that you bring into the business, depending on the product you sell,
Yes.
I think this is the most fundamental part of the business because that is how you set out your marketing. Who do you
Yes.
sell your product to? What price is your product, and who is
Yes.
buying the product, who is not buying,
Yeah.
who is wasting your time, who is giving you their money and giving you, their time as well. So I think it's really very important to know your customers.
Yes.
That's especially in this industry, you have to know your customers because they become the major part of your success. Yeah.
And you mentioned something actually earlier, which is something that we all struggle with in terms of how did you navigate to identify where and how am I going to market this business? Because now, you go in, you don't know that much. It can be overwhelming. Then somebody's talking about billboards, somebody's talking about street pole ads, and there's radio. Oh, that's expensive. Then there's these magazines, and then there's social media, but I don't know how to use this. How did you go about navigating to figure out where to?
I think car rental launched me into the type of marketing I could do for any business, which is social media marketing. Social media marketing is really very effective. When you look at the demographics and all that interest, I'm a very curious person. I believe every entrepreneur, you need to be curious, you need to
Yes.
learn, you need to research. Half of your time, you need to keep reading or learning and trying to gain experience from other people. So I went, to research about digital marketing because I understand the billboard is for awareness. It's not for the customers to actually buy the product. It's basically
yes, true.
just there for them to say, oh, I've seen you somewhere, and then they can make a conscious decision to use the product. So what I did was research Facebook marketing. Like I said in the beginning, we used to post on Gumtree, the classified. And then I thought, no, this was not reliable. And we were attracting some type of clients that we felt no, these were not good clients.
Yeah.
And, cars could be missing at any time. So
Sure.
what we did was I started with the Facebook ads, which would run through Facebook and Instagram. And
Okay.
I started understanding the interest, demographic, and, we would launch an ad. And, we created a website. Obviously, it's a car rental, reservation needs to be made. And then we started getting the feedback from it. And over the time, I kept on learning more and more. And I would measure the result of what comes from this particular ads. Put a small budget at the time, you'd put maybe for a small fleet of, let's say, 5 cars at a time, you wouldn't spend more than 1,000 because you'd have more impression. And then when the bookings will come, the first few bookings, oh, this is working. And like I was telling someone recently, with the ads, I've been running the same type of ads since 2022.
Wow.
So what happens is I just switch on the ads. The bookings comes when the cars are fully booked. We turn it off. The same
Yes.
ads for 3 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it doesn't
Wow.
change. If the audience is the same, when you say people that are looking for cars, it depends on how you set out your ad systems in terms of the copywriting,
Yes.
the graphic asset, and the audience which you're targeting.
Okay.
But I think as an entrepreneur, you don't have a lot of resources. You have to do a lot before you can start delegation, which is a big part of the next phase of your business as well. Yeah.
Where do you see the future of car rental, or even yourself as an entrepreneur within this particular space? I've heard about the concept of people being able to even share their own cars
Yeah.
with others, and which I think is absolutely fascinating. Maybe you can share with us a little bit more information around that.
Okay, with car sharing, the concept is really great. I think it's a great way in which people can offset the cost of ownership. You know, like we
Yes.
say, whereby you share the cars on days when you use it, when you use the car, and maybe for a couple of days to make extra buck. I think the future of car rental, as far as I'm concerned, it's really grown over the years,
Yeah.
and which will continue to grow. The fact that car ownership, it's really, it's debatable when you look at it, but I think the market keeps growing. But it depends on how do people get into the space, looking at the
Yes.
cost of, if you're trying to buy a brand new car or you're trying to buy a used car.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think the market is really big. The differentiator there comes to your type of, investment into that particular sector and the type of, what do you do when you're trying to enter the space? Do you go to a bank and, get a brand new car? I think for young entrepreneurs, it's not really going to be a fit for you to do that approach. There are several ways in which you can get into the business in terms of, probably using the pre-owned vehicles and all that. But I think to answer your question, it's growing because the number people that need vehicles, people are graduating from school all the time. They need to
True.
get a job,
Yeah.
and when they get a job, they need to travel from point A to point B. So it's having done this for 7-8 years, we would expect like it should have dwindled down a bit, but we're still doing well in the business. So
That's
I believe
good.
the numbers are great and
That's
it's growing
brilliant.
and it's quite sustainable.
Oh, wow,
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. In looking to close and wrap up the conversation, there's several entrepreneurs who are going to be watching, and inspired by your journey. You are a serial entrepreneur, a go-getter, somebody that is able to successfully build different types of businesses in different industries, etc. What type of advice would you give to an entrepreneur who's starting out and looking to start something of their own?
Well, I think the most important idea I would give is the advice rather. The first thing is you need to, whatever you start, you need to fail very fast. Because with entrepreneurship, you can never guarantee that anything is going to be successful.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ideas out there in terms of what you need to execute in different industry. But I think it's very important to get into market. Do not spend a lot of time on the product. Sales is the biggest part of entrepreneurship.
Yes.
If you cannot sell, you can't really make money.
Yeah.
And I think you need to spend more time on how you need to sell a product.
Yes.
Beyond, because certain companies can make you buy anything that you don't even know you need, because that's the power of sale.
Yes.
But if the sale is bad, you're really not going to go far with whatever you're doing. So marketing and sale should be your biggest part as an
Yes.
entrepreneur. In the beginning, you need to focus. If you're a small team, you need to focus on how do you sell this product. Whatever product or service you're selling, I think sales and marketing is the biggest part of it. So you need to focus on that. If you get that right, then you could be on the next level with your company. Yeah.
Wow, I love that.
And then obviously now, we've got into quite a lengthy discussion here, and it's been good for those that are listening. If they want to utilize your services, or if they're looking to also arrange for their car to be shared on your platforms, how do they reach you, your company? How do they get a hold of you guys?
Well, they could visit our website, Cityride Car Rental, www.cityridecarrental.co.za, or they can check creed.co.za, CRIDDE.co.za.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, fantastic. Gosh, great takeaways from today's conversation. I think Lanre has really shared some great nuggets with us. What has been your biggest takeaway, Papa Biz, from today's conversation?
Yeah, one of the things that you spoke about that resonated, is the importance of having and creating multiple levels of income, multiple options and multiple streams that can be available. And I always used to wonder, when I was working in corporate, how do people come up with these multiple streams? I'm so busy here and so on. And what I've heard from you that makes me think about that is, well, actually, everybody's got 24 hours in the day.
True.
And if you are deliberate with this, the mind will create space and opportunities to figure out
Absolutely.
areas to be able to go into that can be able to create multiple streams of income. If you're not thinking about it, it's not going to happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So yeah, that's one thing I took away.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Lanre. It's been such an absolute pleasure chatting with you. And I think for me, my biggest takeaway is not being afraid and making sure that you go out there, and any business that you do, doesn't matter what it is, you must take marketing and selling seriously. It doesn't matter how great what you have is. If you can't sell it, nobody's going to buy it. So I think that was a very good takeaway from that. And that brings us to the end of yet another podcast episode on Monetize Your Business Podcast Conversations in partnership with FNB. We would love to hear from you. What resonated with you the most from today's conversation? Let us know down below within the comment section. Don't forget to follow us on all social media platforms. It's at Monetize Your Business, and also visit our website, www.monetizeyourbusiness.co.za, to find out where we are popping up next for our workshop tour. We might be coming to a township near you, so make sure that you plug into the ecosystem where you can learn tools and knowledge to help you grow and scale your business. So until the next episode of Monetize Your Business Podcast Conversations, it is bye-bye for now.
Cheers.